coming of the Mahdi and the age of Islamic justice. Now the Ayatollah, along with President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, has concluded a meeting with Syrian President Bashar Assad, who traveled to Israel last week to discuss this developing unity between Syria and Iran. According to Pavian, the Ayatollah claimed that the growing relations between Syria and Iran are the result of the growing Islamic resistance to Israel and the United States in the region. The result of this unity its effects are perfectly obvious in the developments in Palestine, Lebanon, and Iraq, as well as the entire region. According to Khomeini, the present atmosphere and circumstances in the Middle East are ripe for the growth of the Islamic resistance camp. The tide is now in favor of the resistance, Khomeini added. The resistance camp must use this great opportunity and further strengthen its relations and cooperation. He added that the power of the United States in the region is growing weaker on a daily basis, and in spite of its propaganda campaign, the Zionist regime has faced numerous internal problems and is falling into a genuine decline. The news does not bode well for President Obama, who has bent over backwards in his personal efforts to apologize to the Islamic world on behalf of the United States, while taking a sharply more dovish stance toward Iran and the greater conflict in the Middle East. Critics have repeatedly expressed that such a softening stance would communicate weakness to the Iranians. Now the Ayatollah himself has clearly confirmed this. America's blade has become blunter in the region, said Khomeini, adding that Obama's new attitude was the result of the United States' growing weakness as opposed to any genuine ideological differences between President Bush and Obama. Western governments, particularly the U.S., have numerous problems in their countries as well as the region, and have so far failed to make any achievements in Lebanon and the region, the Ayatollah added. The official foreign policy of the Obama administration is to pry Syria away from Iran through further interaction and dialogue. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton recently said, "Given what's been going on in Iran and the instability that appears to be present there, it may not be in Syria's interest to pull their eggs into that basket." But Rubin elaborates on all that Syria has to gain from its growing alliance with Iran. There are, of course, a huge number of benefits Syria derives from its alliance with Iran, including Islamist legitimacy, protection against being attacked or pressured, money, weapons, cooperation, and anti-Israeli terrorism, and spreading both countries' influence among the Palestinians, Lebanese, and Iraqis. Once Iran gets nuclear weapons, which is on the horizon, the alliance value for Syria will rise dramatically. The Obama administration is still recovering from Syria's sudden scrapping of Obama's Syrian-Israel peace plan. In last week's meeting, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad affirmed both the re-election of Ahmadinejad and his support for the Ayatollah, while poking further jabs at Washington. The failure of the efforts of some Western governments after the recent post-election events in Iran was a great lesson for those governments. They realized that though through the vote of the Iranian people for Ahmadinejad, the people of Iran would follow Imam Khomeini and the path of resistance. In the meeting, the call for a regional Mahdi army, including Turkey, Iraq, Lebanon, and Syria, was once more reaffirmed. Ayatollah Khomeini later expressed his agreement over the formation of a unified group composed of Iran, Syria, Turkey, and Iraq, and said the current relations between Syria and Iraq will produce positive results. He further stated that the Iraq government should be helped in solving the current problems of the country. For his part, Assad agreed with the Ayatollah, adding the recent visit of Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki to Damascus showed that Iraq is ready to cooperate. But the alliance between Syria and Iran is certainly not the only critical aspect of this story. After WorldNet Daily's article last week about the Ayatollah's call for a regional Mahdi army, literally dozens of articles and television programs appeared in the Turkish media examining the Ayatollah's inclusion of Turkey among the nations to which he called for unity under the Mahdi. Some have expressed concern the Ayatollah's inclusion of Turkey may be because of behind-the-scenes discussions between Iran and Turkey's Islamic leadership. Last year, President Ahmadinejad traveled to Turkey to meet with President Abdullah Gül and the Prime Minister Tayyip Erdogan after years of tense relations during the 80s and 90s. Under the leadership of the Islamist Party, Ankara has forged a much stronger ties with both Syria and Iran in recent years. The shift towards the Middle East stands a sharp contrast to previous administrations in Turkey, where the primary effort was to see Turkey welcomed into the European Union. In April of this year, a writer for the Turkish Gerek Hayat magazine interviewed Ayam Khalid for the Kurds Al Arabiya, one of Arab's most prestigious newspapers, and in the interview, Azokis asked Khalid the following question. Certain Turkish activities and writers have said that the border between Turkey and Syria should be lifted, and that such a move will constitute the kernel of an Islamic Union. What does the Arab world think of that idea? His response was one of perfect agreement with the vision of Ayatollah Khomeini. We support the idea with all our hearts. The statesman who made this a reality will go down in history. There are, in any case, no borders in the minds of the Turkish and Syrian peoples. The Syrian people attach great worth to the Turks and love the Turks very much. Turks and Arabs share the same religion and culture and are children of the same lands. In my opinion, together with Egypt, Syria is the most important country in the Arab world. In addition, the Syrian government wants to further improve relations with Turkey and wants those two nations to become brothers. If Turkey can win Syria's heart, it could win that of the whole Arab world, because Syria is the gateway to the Arab world for Turkey. The Turkish government must open that door still further, and the borders between Syria and Turkey must be lifted at once. What we have here are the makings of an Islamic coalition against the U.S. and Israel, very much like in the book of Daniel. One thing we didn't go over when I did the Antichrist, who is the Antichrist programs, is I had not gotten into the Islamic Antichrist aspect, because it's sort of it's a newer concept right now, although the idea isn't new. It's been around for hundreds of years. But now it's coming more and more to light, and there have been books written, new ones now. Perry Stone has had a book out for a while, since shortly after 9/11, called Unleashing the Beast, which had elements of that. And there's a new one now called The Islamic Antichrist by Joel Richardson, which delves into these ideas. Considering that all the nations mentioned in the Bible are all now Islamic nations, it's pointing to the idea that the Antichrist could be Islamic and come from the Middle East.
The devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur where the beast and the false prophet are, and they will be tormented day and night forever and ever. I also saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared like a bride adorned for her husband. Then I heard a loud voice from the throne. Look, God's dwelling is with men, and he will live with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them, and be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Death will exist no longer. Grief, crime, and pain will exist no longer, because the previous things have passed away.
The Revelation 13 podcast is hosted by Mike Hopwood and is a podcast dedicated to the study of end-time events, news events, and ancient mysteries.